They told me never to speak the name aloud, even thinking it was dangerous. And yet, here I am, whispering it to you because someone needs to understand what curiosity can cost. Ma Exo. Even now, writing the name makes the hair on my arms rise. The villagers never called it directly. They spoke around it, through glances, averted eyes, or sudden silences. Children, the smallest among them, would freeze mid-laugh and stare at the forest edge, as if someone or something was watching. Old women would lower their lanterns, whispering in low tones, "Do not wake it." I laughed the first time I heard these warnings. A local superstition, I told myself, designed to scare city-bred wanderers like me. But when you hear it often enough, that laughter turns hollow, and it becomes curiosity. The first time I sensed it, the fog was thick, rolling down the hills like a living thing. It wrapped itself around my legs, my chest, filling my lungs with cold dampness. Every inhale felt like I was drawing the forest inside me. I had ventured alone into the bamboo grove near Quangben, notebook in hand, intending to record folklore stories. But the stories found me first. The sound reached me before I saw it. Soft, wet dragging, like fingernails scraping moss and clay. My breath caught, my pulse raced. My rational mind screamed at me to run, but my feet betrayed me. Curiosity held me rooted. Through the bamboo, I saw signs. Clawed earth, torn and disturbed as if something had been buried and clawed its way free. The smell hit first. Iron, decay, soil turned over by something not human. I gagged, and then I heard it, a breath. Slow, wet, deliberate. Not human, not animal. Somewhere in between. I wanted to turn and run. I wanted to throw the notebook into a fire and forget this night. But I did not. A pull gripped me, subtle yet insistent, as though knowledge itself was tugging at my mind. You can see it. You can control it. You can understand it. I convinced myself it was ambition, not madness. A chance to witness the impossible. I scribbled feverishly in my notebook, documenting every detail. The clawed earth, the smell, the breath that seemed to carry intelligence, intent. The villagers' warnings faded, distant and meaningless. Then it stopped. The dragging ceased. The fog thickened, swallowing the sounds of the night. I blinked. Nothing remained. Only the forest, silent, patient, as if it had been waiting for me to decide. I left trembling, clutching the notebook to my chest. The smell of iron lingered on my hands, under my fingernails, and in my hair. Yet one thought pulsed relentlessly in my mind. You will return. That night, alone in my apartment, I traced my fingers over the old texts I had copied from the village elder's scrolls. I whispered the name aloud, soft and reverent. Ma Exo. Nothing happened. I laughed at myself, relief washing over me in fragile waves. It was just a story, superstition, folklore. And then the draft stirred, carrying the metallic tang of iron. My hair rose on end. A breath, slow and wet, tickled the back of my neck. I turned. Nothing. But I did not sleep. Not truly. The shadows in the room seemed thicker. Every creak in the floor, every whisper of wind against the window, made my heart stutter. And through it all, one truth pressed down on me with unbearable weight. I had decided to summon it. And the forest waited, patient, knowing, as if it had already seen the mistake I was about to make. Some mistakes are born into you, woven into your bloodline like a curse. Others are made by choices that seem small at first, until they unravel everything you thought you knew. I should have known better. My grandmother told stories of the Ma Exo, her voice trembling as she clutched a cracked clay cup of tea. Her eyes darted to corners of the room, as if shadows themselves were eavesdropping. Ma Exo doesn't forget, she whispered one evening, coughing until her chest shook. It remembers the blood that calls it, and it will come for you, even if you bury your own name first. I laughed then, foolishly, arrogantly. Blood memory? Spirits that track lives? Nonsense, I thought. Rational minds are dangerous when blind with curiosity. But fear, I learned, is only the first taste of obsession. It began innocently, Or perhaps it didn't. I spent days wandering village markets, seeking fragments of stories from old men who had seen things they would never speak aloud. Their eyes darted nervously when they whispered. Claws appear on doors, livestock vanish, travelers never return. And always, at the heart of every story, loomed the Ma Exo. Unseen, patient, deadly. I became obsessed. I pored over the texts I could find. Ancient village scrolls, brittle with age, tucked in forgotten temples. Ink had faded, smudged by centuries of rain. The diagrams were grotesque. Sigils etched into bones, lines connecting symbols of life and death. Instructions that promised power but demanded a price beyond imagining. I traced each curve, each mark, with trembling fingers, memorizing them, as if the ritual itself were a melody I could learn by touch. Even the forest seemed to whisper to me. The bamboo groves outside the village stirred, groaned, as though sharing their secrets. In my city apartment, I could feel its presence through the walls, as though the earth itself had followed me home. Shadows lingered longer than natural, and my friends noticed. You smell like earth and smoke, one said. You've changed, another whispered. Your eyes, they're darker. I didn't care. The more I read, the more I realized the terrifying truth. The Ma Exo was not a spirit to command. It was a force to awaken. And awakening it required more than ritual. It demanded blood, intent, and obsession. Those who summoned it weakly were devoured. Those who summoned it foolishly were annihilated. I began collecting materials. Charred bones from long-dead animals, teeth ground to powder, herbs plucked under new moons, water from wells untouched for decades. Each item carried the stench of decay and memory, and each step pulled me further from the world I once knew. Some nights, I swore I felt it, watching me, following me, pressing its unseen weight against my spine. Objects shifted subtly when I was not looking. Even my reflection seemed hesitant, lingering too long in the mirror, eyeing me as though it suspected I would summon what I should never summon. It was then I realized the truth I had been avoiding. The villagers' fear was not superstition. It was caution, born from knowledge of what awaited anyone foolish enough to call the Ma Exo forth. And so I made my decision. I would awaken it. I would summon it. I would survive it. Or at least, that's what I told myself as I prepared the first steps of the ritual. The steps that would mark the night I began a descent I would never return from. The forest seemed different that night. Not just dark, but alive, as if it had been waiting for me. The air was thick with the smell of wet earth and rotting leaves, a metallic tang lingering beneath it, like iron left to rust in water. Every footstep I took on the soft, mossy ground felt amplified, a drumbeat announcing my intrusion to something far older than the trees. I had prepared meticulously. Every detail mattered. The charred bones arranged in a circle, the herbs tied with black string and soaked in water from the village well, the sigils drawn in ash on the ground. I had pored over the ancient scrolls countless times, memorizing every instruction. Mistakes could be fatal. As I worked, I could feel it, a presence subtle at first, brushing against the edges of my mind. The Ma Exo was awake in something more than the physical world. The forest whispered in tongues I didn't know I could understand. It was patient, watching, testing me, and I had no choice but to proceed. The first step was to awaken the soil. I pressed the bones into the earth, each one a silent plea and an invitation. The ground was cold beneath my fingers, almost impossibly so, like the touch of a corpse. I whispered the words from the scroll, syllables that felt wrong in my mouth, heavy and sharp. Smoke curled from the herbs, twisting into shapes that made me want to turn and run. But I did not. Curiosity, insane, foolish curiosity, held me in place. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had become slippery, a fluid thing, bending around the ritual. Shadows stretched unnaturally between the trees. The rustling of leaves sounded like whispers, deliberate and cruel, circling my mind. I could feel the Ma Exo shifting closer, unseen, its presence pressing into my chest. Then the first sign appeared. A small bird, black as midnight, fell into the circle. Its eyes were wide, unblinking, and fixed on me. I didn't move, couldn't. The scrolls had mentioned that sacrifices would come willingly or unwillingly, and I had assumed this referred only to the offerings I had prepared. But the forest itself seemed to comply. The bird's body shivered as if convulsing, and then it went still. A warning? A test? I could not know. And then I heard it, a whisper, low and wet, coming from the darkness beyond the circle. My name, spoken in a voice that was not human, not entirely, but somehow intimate, as if it knew the rhythm of my thoughts. I shivered, a cold sweat coating my back. My hands trembled, but I continued the ritual, repeating the syllables with every ounce of concentration I had left. The ground under me shifted. Small cracks formed, tiny lines spreading outward from the circle. From these cracks, I saw movement, something crawling beneath the soil, something that did not belong to this world. It was patient, almost teasing. I felt it consider me, and in that moment, I knew the stories were true. The Ma Exo obeyed only the ritual, but it had its own will, its own purpose. Hours, or was it days, passed. The fog thickened around me, rising from the earth like a living creature. I felt the air vibrate with the weight of something unseen. My heart pounded in my chest, loud enough that I feared it would betray me to whatever watched. I realized then that the ritual was not about control. It was not about summoning. It was about invitation, and the Ma Exo had accepted. A chill swept through the circle, extinguishing my small lanterns. Darkness fell so thick that I could see nothing, hear nothing, except for the sound of something moving in the periphery, something patient, deliberate, waiting. The scrolls had warned of the initial awakening. They had said the first manifestations were subtle, almost insignificant, but I understood now. The Ma Exo does not announce itself with violence at first. It begins by testing you, by whispering, by drawing you into a reality where nothing is safe, where every sound, every shadow, every heartbeat is a threat. And then I felt it brush my hand. Not with fingers, not with claws, but something heavier, older, a presence that pressed against my skin and sank into my bones. My breath caught. I wanted to pull away, to run, but I could not. Some part of me, the part that had desired this moment for weeks, months, years, wanted to feel it, to touch the forbidden. I did, and the world shifted. The trees groaned, the wind stilled, the fog swirled around me like a living veil. I could hear whispers all at once, in every direction, speaking in tongues I could not understand. And then, just for a heartbeat, the forest went silent. The kind of silence that screams. And I realized the Ma Exo was awake, but it was not mine to command. The first night of the ritual ended with a sense of triumph I could barely savor. Exhausted, trembling, covered in ash and sweat, I stumbled back to my apartment. And yet, even as I lay in my bed, I felt it, watching, patient, waiting. Every shadow in the room seemed thicker. Every creak of the floorboards sounded deliberate. I had summoned it, and it had already begun to plan. I had not intended to involve anyone else. The ritual demanded solitude, precision, and complete focus. Yet somehow I found myself sharing my obsession. Ngwin, a fellow researcher and longtime friend, had been wary from the start. He came at my insistence, claiming he could help me document everything, rationalize it, make sense of what was happening. He arrived one evening, just as the sun sank behind the hills and the forest began its nightly symphony of creaks and distant animal calls. The moment he stepped into my apartment, I noticed how tense he was. His eyes darted to every shadow, every flicker of light. "You shouldn't be doing this," he said quietly. "You don't understand what you're inviting." I laughed, though it sounded brittle even to me. "I understand perfectly. I've studied it for months. I know the texts. I know the rituals. I know the risks." But Ngwin did not laugh. He only shook his head, his expression darkening. From the very beginning of that night, he felt it too. I could see it in the way he flinched when a breeze rattled the window, how he jumped when the floorboards groaned. At first, I thought he was merely frightened, rational fear in response to the stories and the environment. But soon, I began to notice subtle signs that something was wrong. Objects moved. Small things at first. A pen rolling across the desk, a notebook sliding from the edge of the table. At first, I blamed my own trembling hands. But Nguyen refused to let it go. "You're not imagining it," he said. "It's here. Something is here." I wanted to dismiss him. I wanted to believe I was in control. But deep down, I could not ignore the feeling that had been growing since the night I first traced my fingers over the clawed earth in the forest. The sensation that I was not alone, that I had invited something into my life that already held dominion over me. The night deepened. Rain began to patter against the windows, a soft drumbeat that made the shadows shift even more violently. I lit candles, circling them around the apartment like protective wards. Nguyen watched silently, muttering under his breath fragments of old prayers I didn't understand. And then I heard it. A whisper, low and deliberate, speaking directly into my mind. Not a voice carried on the wind, not a sound echoing through the room, but a thought planted in my skull. "You thought you could control me." I froze. Nguyen's eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw fear in his expression that went beyond ordinary terror. "It's speaking," he whispered. "It's in your head." I wanted to argue, to say it was impossible, that the mind played tricks. But my own thoughts betrayed me. The whisper returned, now sharper, more insistent, dripping with malice. "I obey no one. Not yet. Not ever. You summoned me. You are mine." The candles flickered violently, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. The room felt smaller, like the air itself had thickened. Nguyen grabbed my arm, his grip tight. "We need to leave. Now." I resisted. I wanted to finish what I had started. I wanted to prove to myself that I could command it. But the feeling of being watched, of being tested, had never been stronger. Every heartbeat sounded amplified, every breath a struggle. Then I saw it, a shadow moving behind the curtains, not cast by candlelight, not reflected by any object in the room. Something darker, denser than darkness itself. It shifted as I moved, perfectly synchronized, aware of my every motion. I could feel its hunger, its intelligence, the patience in its observation. Nguyen backed away, his voice trembling. "This isn't just a spirit," he said. "It's something else, something alive." I wanted to laugh, but the sound caught in my throat. I realized then, in that moment of absolute clarity, that my friend was right. I had not summoned a spirit to observe. I had not summoned an entity to obey me. I had awoken something that had been waiting, something that now regarded me as both host and meal. That night changed everything. The Ma Exo was no longer distant. It was near, aware, and it had begun to test me in ways I could not comprehend. Shadows moved when I was alone. Whispers followed me even when Nguyen was gone. My dreams, when I could sleep, were invaded by visions of claws, mouths too wide, eyes that glimmered with malice. Nguyen left the next day, unable to bear the fear that had settled over the apartment like a suffocating fog. But he warned me one last time, "You cannot control it. It's already inside, and it knows you." I laughed then, but it was hollow, because even as I did, I knew he was right. The Ma Exo had begun its work, and I was not the master. I was the experiment, and experiments, as the old texts had warned, are never allowed to survive. I had convinced myself that I was in control, that my preparation, my study, my ritual would allow me to call the Ma Exo and command it. But by the time the fifth night came, I realized the terrifying truth. I had only opened the door. It began with small things, shadows that lingered too long, that stretched into impossible angles when I turned away. Objects rearranged themselves when I was not looking. My ritual components, carefully placed, shifted as if the air itself had hands. And the whispers, oh, the whispers, they grew louder, sharper, more deliberate. Not just fragments of words, but sentences, threats, taunts. "You cannot hide. You belong to me." At first, I tried to reason with it, to assert control. I recited passages from the scrolls, repeated every syllable of the ancient incantations, but the Ma Exo responded only with laughter, or at least I assumed it was laughter. It sounded wet, echoing in my skull, a sound that twisted the lining of my mind. Sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it. A figure emerging from the shadows, impossibly tall, its limbs too long, its mouth stretched far wider than nature would allow. Its skin was a charred, leathery black, fused with strands of straw or hair that seemed to writhe on their own. And its eyes burned with an intelligence that chilled me to the bone. I began to notice other changes. My apartment felt smaller, constricting, the walls pressing in as though the Ma Exo were pushing reality itself toward me. Even the air seemed heavier, thicker, as if the forest I had summoned it from had followed me, pressing into my lungs with every breath. Then it became physical. Small scratches at first, fingernail marks on the wooden floorboards, a clawed gouge on the edge of my desk. The air smelled of iron, of burned flesh, even when I was alone. I could feel its presence brushing against my neck in the dark, the sensation like icy fingers grazing the hollow of my throat. I realized then that it was no longer testing me. It was hungry. I tried to flee, to retreat into rationality, but rationality could not save me. The Ma Exo had learned to follow the rhythm of my life. It would not be kept at a distance. It began to interfere with my surroundings. Lights flickered. Mirrors reflected images that were not mine. Whispers of things I had never thought to imagine filled my mind. Even the villagers' warnings made sense now. Ma Exo does not arrive quietly. It does not strike immediately. It lures you, entangles you, strips away your confidence, your perception of reality, until the world itself becomes a trap. I knew I was losing, and then came the first direct encounter. I woke one night to the sound of my own screams, though I had not uttered them. The shadows in the apartment had thickened into a black mass, crawling along the walls like liquid smoke. A figure emerged, coalescing from the darkness, its mouth stretching impossibly wide, teeth blackened and splintered. I could see only one eye, gleaming, intelligent, filled with malevolent curiosity. It studied me, as though weighing whether I was prey or merely amusing. I stumbled backward, my hands grasping at nothing. The air smelled of burning straw and iron. The creature moved toward me, not with steps, but with the slither of something that had no legs, no constraints, no mercy. I screamed. No one came. The Ma Exo paused, tilting its head, seemed amused. Then it whispered again, the voice inside my head curling around my skull like a vine. You called me. You thought you could control me. Now you will understand. I collapsed, vomiting ash and bile. The ritual texts were scattered around me, torn from their bindings, letters bleeding across the floor as though the Ma Exo had rewritten reality itself. My apartment was no longer mine. It belonged to it, and I belonged to it. The awakening was complete. I had summoned a force beyond comprehension, one that did not obey, that did not bargain, that did not forgive. And in that moment I understood. I was no longer the raiser. I was the offering. Sleep, if it could still be called that, brought visions of forests twisted into impossible geometries, of clawed hands emerging from the ground, of a shadowed figure with a mouth wide enough to swallow the moon. I could feel it tracing my thoughts, probing, learning, manipulating. Every decision I made was anticipated, every fear magnified. By the end of that night, I was hollowed. The Ma Exo had not struck me fully, not yet, but it had shown me the inevitability of its power. And the truth of the texts hit me like a blow to the chest. The razor is always the first target. The Ma Exo does not forgive ambition, does not tolerate arrogance. I had been arrogant, and I had awakened it. I tried to flee. My legs carried me toward the door, but the apartment seemed to twist around me. Shadows clung to the corners, walls extended where they should not, and the hallway grew longer the farther I ran. Every door I tried to open either slammed shut or led me back into the same room. Panic consumed me. My lungs burned as I screamed for help, but no sound reached beyond the walls. I was alone, or perhaps I had never been alone. I scrambled backward, my hands clawing at the floor. Then I realized the most horrifying truth. The Ma Exo did not only want to harm me, it wanted to consume everything that made me who I was. My memories, my sanity, my very life force. Every instinct told me to run, hide, fight. But I was trapped in a nightmare of my own creation. I tried to strike it, to defend myself with anything I could find. A candle? A shard of bone? Nothing worked. The Ma Exo did not react to physical attacks. It did not fear them. It only advanced, patient, intelligent, omnipresent. By the time dawn broke, I was broken, bruised, exhausted, trembling. My mind stretched thin by the relentless, invisible assault. My apartment was a ruin of overturned furniture and scattered scrolls. And yet, even in the light of day, I knew the Ma Exo had not left. I began seeing things that could not exist. My reflection in the mirror sometimes hesitated, lingering too long, staring back with an eye that was not mine. Walls seemed to pulse, faintly, like a heartbeat I could feel in my chest. Doors would appear where none had been before, leading me into empty rooms that seemed endless. Sometimes, in the corner of my vision, I glimpsed the Ma Exo's eye, glinting like a shard of black glass. Food lost its taste. Water tasted of ash. I did not know if I was hungry, or if the Ma Exo had stolen my appetite along with my sanity. I could feel it watching me constantly, moving in ways I could not see. Even when I closed my eyes, it pressed into my mind, whispering memories back at me, twisting them until I could no longer trust what had been real. The nights grew worse. One evening, I awoke to find claw marks etched across the ceiling above my bed. They were too long, too sharp, jagged like splintered wood fused with something alive. The walls seemed to lean closer, and I could hear faint scraping, shifting, always just beyond the edge of perception. I could not move without it noticing. I could not think without it knowing. I tried to flee, to escape the apartment, but the city itself had become a trap. Streets curved impossibly, leading me back to the same alleyways. Shadows lingered behind every corner, stretching unnaturally, whispering my name. Sometimes I thought I saw the Ma Exo slinking between buildings, impossibly tall and thin, with a mouth wide enough to swallow everything. Even memories became treacherous. I could not remember whether the scratches on my arms were real, whether the whispers I heard in the night had been said aloud, or whether they existed only in my mind. And then I realized the cruelest truth. The Ma Exo was feeding on my fear, on my perception, on my sanity itself. The more I panicked, the more power it had. By the seventh night, I no longer slept. I wandered the apartment like a ghost, muttering incantations to try and maintain a grip on reality. But nothing worked. The Ma Exo was patient, intelligent, and cruel. It had learned to twist not only my environment but my own thoughts against me. I understood the final, inevitable truth. The Ma Exo was not content with physical destruction. It consumed everything, the body, the mind, the spirit. And I was its first lesson, its first target, the one who had foolishly called it into existence. Madness, I realized, was the first step toward annihilation. And there would be no escape. A weight on my chest, pressing me into the floor. I struggled to move, but it was useless. The air smelled of iron and ash. And then I heard it. The sound of bones snapping softly, rhythmically, accompanied by wet, almost human breathing. I tried to cry out, but my voice failed me. My thoughts raced, every instinct screaming for escape, for survival. But I knew it was already too late. The Ma Exo had learned me. It knew the exact rhythm of my panic, the exact tremor of my heartbeat, the pattern of my fear. And it used it, spoke not in words but in thought. You summoned me. You thought you could control me. You are mine. Pain lanced through my body as it struck, clawing at my arms, my chest, my mind itself. And in the midst of this, I saw it clearly. The Ma Exo's mouth opening wider than any jaw should, blackness within deeper than night itself, teeth jagged like broken wood, the faint smell of charred flesh and iron. And then it lunged not toward my body, but toward my essence, my identity, my very being. I realized, in that moment, the the cruelest truth of all. My curiosity had been the blade that severed my fate. Every decision, every obsession, every whisper had led me here. I had wanted to see it, to raise it, to control it, and it had been waiting all along. Patient, intelligent, merciless. The last sensation I remember was weightless, as though I had been torn apart and reassembled into nothingness. The apartment, the city, the forest, it all blurred, and I understood with a clarity I will never forget that the Ma-Exo does not simply kill. It annihilates, and yet, even as darkness swallowed me, I knew it would not stop. There would be another curious soul, another foolish heart willing to call its name, and it would wait, patient, hungry, eternal. I am gone, but it remains. Ma-Exo, if you're still here, if you made it all the way to the end of this story, then maybe the darkness doesn't scare you as much as you thought. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel.